Hello out there, and today I've been getting a whole bunch of stuff ready and trying to be as prepared as possible for the big hurricane that may or may not hit us this weekend, but obviously trying to do everything I can to be prepared. And while I was doing that, I saw there's a bunch of boxes I needed to break down and figured now would be a good time, because why not, to do a cut test video. And of all the knives to choose, let's go with the Spyderco Meerkat. And the Meerkat was actually suggested, I think jokingly, by a viewer, but when I saw that suggestion, I actually thought it was a great idea, because when we're doing cut tests, for me, what I want to know more than how sharp the knife is or how long the edge is going to retain, what I want to know is how it's going to feel in the hand over long-term heavy use. You know, and this is one of those knives that is just unique in that for a knife this size, how short it is pretty thick, but it doesn't have any jimping. So there's just, just a number of characteristics that just make me curious as to how this is actually going to be in hand for some long period use. So the steel is one that I've never really used hard, and I won't really be able to judge it after just one use, but still curious to see how this goes. So that's what we're going to do. Going to be outside in the carport cutting some stuff up in just a minute, but just to show you what we are starting with, see if I can do this on camera. I mean, we do have a pretty darn sharp edge. Up and down cut as well. I mean, so pretty good right off the bat with slicing paper. So we'll see how this holds up after a bunch of like wet, damp cardboard, a little bit of wood, and yeah, see where it goes. So stay with me. I'm gonna jump outside and get to it. All right, guys, and let's just keep in mind that I'm not necessarily the best at doing these cut tests, and also. There's some pretty wet cardboard, so I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm doing and all the stuff I'm breaking down, and then we'll go from there. All right. So just right off the bat, this you can see we're pretty darn sharp. But we are catching a lot, like right here. You can see that, like right here where the forward choil is sort of catching just because of how, just how small the blade length is. But as far as sharpness goes and the wetness of the cardboard, no real issue. I mean, it's cutting very well. Hopefully most or all of this is actually going to be on camera, but you can see this cardboard is like, not the easiest stuff to deal with, but the knife is pretty darn sharp. And there's no hot spots. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to use for a job like this, but it feels good in the hand when you grip it hard. The problem that I'm seeing, just with any kind of small blade is, as you do the slice, your tendency is to pull, and so you lose. Sometimes you don't get a deep enough cut, and you slice your way out of the cut and don't complete it. See, like that. But the blade is certainly sharp enough to stay in the cut. It's just a matter of me getting used to it and not catching it right there. See? Trying to cut through tape. Just really put some force on the knife and see how it holds up. All right, and just for comparison, here's a pretty decent piece, just like solid, easy to cut through. So no real issues with that at all. All right, so there's some cardboard. Let's take a look at some wood. This is from a pallet. You see that right here? Good. I'm resting on my knee. So we're taking pretty nice chunks of the wood out. I don't know how much of this is actually going to be visible, or if this video is even going to be able to be used. But the problem that I'm having as a lefty is that this pocket clip, since I carry on the right side, this is digging a little bit into my my finger right here. Right-handed, I don't really anticipate that kind of hot spot, so I think it'll work out pretty well. Sharpness right here at the very top of where the jimping could be. I wish we had jimping, because it would make this knife a whole lot more comfortable. But it's surprising me a little bit in that respect right now. So we'll do a little bit more wood and then just a little bit more as far as cardboard, and then be done with it. Yeah, as you bear down, this spot right here, I mean, unless you have your thumb in the perfect spot, your thumb is gonna just slide up and it's gonna be sharp and dig right in like that. You can see, I mean, the steel, it's digging in pretty nicely. And if I were able to hold the knife more comfortably and get an even better purchase, I think I'd be able to do an even better job with it. Alright, so there's that. Cardboard after that. Still, I mean, no problem. So, I mean, at least for like a long day's use, should be pretty good. Just a lot of wet spots, and still pretty okay with how this has gone. Pretty okay. So I'm going to move back inside and take a look at it with paper and see how it feels overall, and finish up with you there. Alright, and now real quickly, let's just go over what my takeaways were from that cut test. And the one thing that I wasn't looking for, which might surprise you, is edge retention. Not really worried about that with the HAP 40. I haven't used it much at all. I don't know much about the steel except what I paid for it and what my expectation is. And so I really didn't think that this would dull very quickly at all, and I was right. So if you are concerned about that, let me show you this real quickly. Let's see if we can do this on camera. Really have issues with still pretty darn sharp. There we go. Yeah, so the knife is sharp. Still sharp after the wood and the wet cardboard and all that riffraff, as I expected it to be. But what I was more interested in were 2 or 3 different things. First of all, with this laminate steel, with the HAP 40 that you have in between the SUS 410, the information that I'd received and the reviews that I'd seen from other people was that the SUS 410 on the outside here is just really soft and scratches extremely easily, which is why I did sort of just wipe the knife clean when I came back inside, just to see if, you know, just that wet cardboard or the wood would have scratched it, and it hasn't. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd heard some real horror stories that, oh, the knife was used once and then all of a sudden had all these scratches on it, and that is not the case with this. So maybe Spyderco has improved their finishing or something to protect the steel a little bit more. Don't know, but no issues with that yet. The 2 other things, though, the main thing is ergonomics. Ergonomics with this knife. And what I will say is that it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. My two big issues ergonomically were from the pocket clip digging in, which if you carry the knife the way a normal person would, the pocket clip would be on the against your hand and not against your finger the way that I hold the knife. So I don't think that for a lot of people that would be that big of a deal. You know, it's very comfortable in this grip. But then the other part is just right here, the apex here where the spine curves down, where we would probably have jimping if they had jimped the knife. That would be a real lifesaver. Because, you know, this spot, as you're using the knife heavily, your thumb just tends to extend, and then this spot is really, really sharp and digs in. And that is not comfortable when you're bearing down at all. So that is the ergonomic problem. But I think, really, guys, this isn't going to be the knife that you're using for that kind of stuff. So in a pinch, it's going to be pretty okay. I mean, you could see in the actual cutting that I was getting some drag because everything was sliding up to the choil part right here, and if it wasn't, I was missing and pulling out of the cut too early, and that just happens with a blade and cutting length that's this small. But I think as far as performance, though, in a pinch and needing this for something heavier than maybe it was intended for, it would be just fine. The other thing that I was interested in is just this locking mechanism. You know, if we would get any kind of play, because this is not a traditional kind of locking mechanism, would we get some play in it from using the knife heavily? And, you know, how big of an issue would that be since there is not a pivot? You know, there's not anything to adjust. Everything is pinned together. So, you know, if play develops, you're sort of SOL and have to send it in. Well, yeah, no issue at all with that, you know, even with how hard I was bearing down on it. So it does seem to be constructed pretty well in that capacity. So, yeah, first ever cut test. Probably not expecting it to be on a Meerkat, but it does work out pretty well, guys. So yeah, I would definitely recommend picking this one up and being able to use it in a slightly heavier capacity than what you would think. All right, so that's all I have. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Obviously, this was my first cut test video, and I know there are some things I could improve in the future, so we will work on that and hopefully make some progress for next time. But thanks for watching, and take care.